out. I have an announcement to make at the beginning, and Paul, I sort of apologize for not telling you this sooner, but it has to be said. Well, I was doing preparation for this debate and looking up various things and trying to come up with various arguments and counter-arguments for the points that I knew or that I thought that Dr. Hovind here would raise. And I started thinking about all of the arguments that he'd made in the previous debate, all of the things that he'd said, all of the points that he'd brought up that I just found myself incapable of refuting. And I did a good deal of background digging into the claims and the statements and the facts that Dr. Hovind presented, thanks in part to his very excellent website, www.drdino.com, which I can highly recommend. And I started to think about the way I'd taught evolution in the past, about all of the students of mine, some of whom are here tonight, whom I'd bullied and brainwashed and intimidated and, generally tried to make feel bad because I couldn't get them to convert to my own particular mode of thinking. And I thought about the way that, the senseless waste of taxpayer money for me to go in and act like an indoctrinator rather than an educator, and the way I've always insisted that my students accept this because it seems so right to me. Well, this is not particularly easy for me to say. It's not always easy to talk with your foot this firmly planted in one's mouth, but I want to make a public promise right now. I really don't want to make this a typical adversarial, name-calling, angry, mocking debate the way I sort of remember the last one as having been. What I'd like to do is make this a learning experience, because from here on out, whenever I teach my evolution class, which I have to do because it's what they hired me for, I want to add a creation science section to it. And I want to learn about what it is I should be teaching, because I come from a very secular background. Thank you. Thank you, all of you. Well, thank you. Thank you. Wow. Think still on? Great. The high school I went to was a public high school in Louisiana, great education capital of the world that it is. Mm-hmm. And things like this just weren't covered in weren't covered in my high school. One friend of mine was actually taken to after-school detention for saying the name of Jesus out loud. That's what the atmosphere there was like, I kid you not. And, of course, in my college education, first at Tulane and then at the People's Republic of Berkeley, California, which is a little different from here, I might add, just a touch. Of course, I was not exposed to things like this. So the reason I came here was not so much to defend my own case, because evolution is far past anything that I could say to defend it. What I really would like to do here is learn some of the things that I should be teaching, some of the things I should be presenting, and the ways in which I should be presenting it, to make sure that all of my future classes are even and open-handed and non-intimidating to people of all persuasions who should happen to take them. And so I really don't have anything else to say. I ended up not presenting a particularly strong defense, and I hope this doesn't upset the presenters. We were told to make this a debate, so in my own feeble way, I will do my best to answer any points that Dr. Hovind here brings up. But what I would like to do, and what I hope some of you will do, is simply to make this a learning experience for all, for us to learn about, well, in my case, learn about what I need to be covering better, which is the creation view. And I know that wasn't 15 minutes. This could mean we all get out of here a little early. Aw.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. This is my 65th debate, and that's the first time I've had someone say they would like to be open-minded about it, and I really appreciate that. And I will come at my expense to speak to your class anytime you'd like, okay? Let me know. Here's my position. I believe in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. I believe he did it in 6 literal days, exactly like he told us in Exodus chapter 20, verse 11. I believe the world before the flood was very different. The people lived to be over 900 years old. I believe the word evolution is confusing to the kids because there are 6 different meanings or levels or stages to evolution, only one of which is really scientific. And here's where all of the confusion comes in. First, you'd have to have cosmic evolution. That would be the Big Bang. The origin of time, space, and matter is a complete mystery to scientists, and to include this as part of a science education is simply lying to the kids, okay? We don't know how time, space, and matter came into being. If you have a theory about that, that's great, but don't teach it as if it's a fact, because the Big Bang is a far cry from a fact, okay? Secondly, we'd have to have chemical evolution. According to the Big Bang theory, hydrogen was produced. Well, how did we get all these other elements? There are 92 elements plus the synthetic ones. Thirdly, we'd have stellar or planetary evolution. No one's ever seen a star forming. We see stars blow up all the time. We never see one form. So that's not part of science to say stars evolved over millions of years. Nobody's ever observed that. That's not part of science. It's part of a religion that somebody believes in. Fourthly, we have organic evolution. That's the origin of life. No one has a clue how life can get started from non-living material, and it certainly has not been proven how it happened in the past. This also is not part of science. This is part of a religion and should not be taught at taxpayer expense in schools. Fifthly, we have macroevolution. That's where an animal changes from one kind of animal into another. No one has ever seen a dog produce a non-dog. All we see is dogs produce dogs. Now, you may get a big dog or a little dog, but you will always get a dog when you crossbreed dogs, okay? And probably the dog, the wolf, and the coyote had a common ancestor. I wouldn't argue about that. But a 5-year-old kid knows they're the same kind of animal. Here we have a dog, a wolf, a coyote, and a banana. And I ask kids all the time, which one is not like the others? And every 5-year-old gets it right. It's the banana, okay? The Bible says they will bring forth after their kind. So my position is very clearly, variations within the original created kinds are all that we have ever seen and all that can be called science. Science deals with things we can observe and study and test and demonstrate. The first 5 stages that I shared with you are not science. They are a religion, plain and simple. Only number 6 is really scientific. Now, if you observe variations within the created kind, and you say, okay, I think this variation might lead to bigger changes, okay, you're welcome to believe that, but that's where you just stepped out of science and went into your religion. You just went into the metaphysical. You think it might have happened long ago and far away. That's not science. Okay, that's a religion. My position is, the evolution theory is not only stupid and an insult to our intelligence, it is dangerous. We are teaching the kids they're an animal, and then we wonder why they act like animals. This textbook says 30 million years ago, these creatures evolved. The earliest fossil apes that can be ancestral to both humans and modern apes. We teach the kids they're nothing but an ape, or an ape derived from the same ancestor as an ape, and then we wonder why they act like animals. You don't need to be a genius to figure this out, folks. What you believe determines how you behave. This textbook says you are an animal and share a common heritage with earthworms. Now, I don't care if somebody wants to believe that, but that's not science. And I resent paying for that to go into the textbook, because that's not science. That's his religion. He believes we have a common ancestor with earthworms. He doesn't know that, okay? And textbooks are jam-packed full of stuff like this, propaganda to get the kids to believe this silly theory. We teach them they're an animal, and they're acting like animals, okay? Go visit the schools, and you'll see what I'm talking about. I taught for 15 years. Kids are being taught there's no such thing as a moral standard. I challenge people all over the world. I ask them the question, if evolution is true, how do we determine right from wrong? If evolution is true, what is sin? I'm telling you, there is no absolute standard to determine right from wrong if evolution is true. You just can't tell. My position is anyone who teaches this false religion and destroys the faith of students is in serious trouble when they face God, because they're destroying their faith. Jesus said very clearly, "Whoso shall offend one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck and he were drowned in the depth of the sea." Now, if you want to teach science, then teach science. But if you're going to mix your religion in with it and try to make the kids believe that they came from an ape-like ancestor, you better understand you're destroying somebody's faith, and you're going to face God with this. You're going to be in serious trouble. I'm just here to warn you. I'm the messenger boy. My position is every one of us has broken God's commandments. God created this world, and He owns it, and everyone in this room, especially me, has broken God's laws. And we are in serious trouble. Nobody can get to heaven on their own merits. The Bible says, "Thou art not a God that hath pleasure in wickedness, neither shall evil dwell with thee." If you have any sin in your life, you cannot go to heaven unless you have been forgiven. And 33 years ago yesterday, I asked the Lord to save me, and I'm going to heaven. It's not at all because I'm good. It's because I have been forgiven. Anyone who repents and asks for God's forgiveness shall be saved. And that's what I recommend everybody do. My position is very simple. Many people believe in evolution because they do not want to accept responsibility for answering to a creator. There's no scientific reason to accept this theory, but some people really like that theory because that's a logical way to get freedom from God. We're warned about this in Romans chapter 1, about people who would accept this theory. It says, "Even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind, to do those things which are not convenient." You ought to read the whole chapter about how the people descend into depravity because they're just looking for some way to get rid of God. They're going to be backbiters, haters of God, who, knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them. The Bible says, "For this cause God shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie." Evolution, at least the first 5 stages I shared with you, are indeed a lie, in my opinion. There is no evidence to support evolution except things that are proven to be lies. This textbook just clearly shows the kids that the mammals, the birds, the crocodiles all have a common ancestor. Well, you are welcome to believe that, but don't call that science. That's a religion that some people believe in, but there's no scientific evidence that any animal has ever produced a different kind of animal. None, okay? This one says the coccyx, that's your tailbone, is a small bone at the end of the human vertebral column. It has no present function. That is simply a lie. You're a medical doctor. You know there are 9 muscles that attach to the tailbone, without which you cannot perform some very valuable functions. I won't tell you what they all are, but trust me, you need those muscles. Your tailbone is not vestigial, okay? And I have a long-time standing offer. If anybody ever tells you the tailbone is evidence for evolution because we don't need it anymore, you tell them, I will pay to have theirs removed. Tell them, bend over. This textbook says many organisms retain traces of their evolutionary history. For example, the whale retains pelvic and leg bones as useless vestiges. Now, this is just simply a lie, okay? Those bones in the whale's abdomen are anchor points that muscles attach to, and without those specialized bones and those specialized muscles, the whales cannot reproduce. The male and female whales have bones that are different. They're used for reproduction. It has nothing to do with walking on land. And so the guy who wrote this is either ignorant or he's lying to his students. But it's not true either way, okay? This one says the human embryo has gill slits. It shows the fish, the reptile, the bird, and the mammal having gills. This was proven wrong in 1874. This is a lie. This is not true, but it is still in a year 2000 textbook. Those little folds of skin on the embryo develop into bones in the ear and glands in the throat. They never have anything to do with breathing. I've seen folks that have 5 or 6 chins, and they cannot breathe through any of them but the top one, okay? My position is there is no